so which is known as the double salt. And also we are seeing their coordination complex. In the coordination complex, these complexes which are the dissolve in the water in the least amount, and there is a formation of the counter ion, and also there is a formation of the complex ion. So this is about the coordination complex. Also we are seeing their Werner's theory of the coordination complex. In the Werner's theory of the coordination complex, we are seeing there two important concepts which are the given from the Werner, which is the scientist. That is the coordination sphere, which is also having another name, that is the secondary sphere, and also which is also having another name, that is a non-ionizable sphere, which is also known as the non-ionizable sphere, which is also named here. That means this sphere, or this inside of the square bracket, which is having three name. One is the coordination sphere, another which is having second sphere, and third one, that is the non-ionizable sphere. So this inside of the complex, or inside of the square bracket, which is having three name. Okay, while in case of the this outside of the square bracket, which is a chlorine, which is a present there, which is also having number of the names which are the given there. In that first one, that is a ionization sphere, there is a first one name, which is also having another name, that is the primary sphere. This is the ionization sphere, and this is the primary sphere, which is also known there. So these are the important assumptions which are the given from the Werner, which is the scientist. And also we are seeing there number of the examples which are the related. In the coordination complex, there are important concepts which are the given there. First one we already were seeing there, that is uh, uh, complex. This is the simple ion or double salt, which is known there. And second one concept we are seeing there, complex salt. Double salt, which is water soluble, and complex salt, which is the least soluble in the water. Also we are seeing there Werner's theory. In the Werner's theory, we are seeing their coordination sphere and ionization sphere. Now next one, classification of the complex, which is given there. Classification of the complex. So classification of the complex, which is a classify mostly according to the uh, different types of the ligands. So classification which is having, again here there are types of the classification which is given there. First one, classification which is based on the type of the ligands. So this is the first one classification which is given there. Classification which is based on the type of the ligands. So there are two type of the ligands which are the given there: homoleptic complex and another complex which is the heteroleptic complex. Now what is a homoleptic complex? Homoleptic complex, that means all ligand inside of the complex, these are the similar. In case of the homoleptic complex, all ligand inside of the complex, these are the similar ligands. This is the one of the example which is given there. Cobalt, CO means cobalt, NH3, which is the ammonia, which is having 6 ammonia. That means inside of the square bracket only one type of the ligand which is present there. एकाच टाईपचा आहे, कुठला आहे बघा इथे, that is the ammonia. So this is a homoleptic complex. This is known as a homoleptic complex. एखाद्या कॉम्प्लेक्समध्ये एकाच टाईपचे जर लिगॅन्ड प्रेझेंट असतील तर आपण त्याला काय म्हणतो, होमोलॅप्टिक कॉम्प्लेक्स. नाउ व्हॉट इज हेटेरोलॅप्टिक कॉम्प्लेक्स? Heteroleptic complex, the complex in which is having two type of the ligands or more than two type of the ligands if present in the complex, which is known as the heteroleptic complex. So this is the example which is given there, that is inside of the square bracket CO means cobalt, which is surrounded by the 4 ammonia and 2 chlorine. That means there are two type of the ligands. These are the different, ammonia different, chlorine different. That means which is classified into the heteroleptic complex, which is classified into the heteroleptic complex. Heteroleptic complex in which complex which is having different type of the ligands which are the present in the complex, which is known as a heteroleptic complex. So these are the two examples which are given there. In case of the homoleptic complex, this one example, and in case of the heteroleptic complex, this is the example which is given there, that is a heteroleptic complex. Let's we take here there is one example in case of the heteroleptic complex and homoleptic complex. There is an example, nickel, which is surrounded by the ligands which is given there, chlorine, 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 chlorine. This is the example which is given there. Now in this example, which type of the complex which is given there? Yes, which type of the complex, homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex? Here second one example, this is the example of the, this is the homoleptic example, homoleptic complex in which all ligands, these are the similar type. Next one I am taking here one example. So in this example I am using their different ligand I am attached there, that is the I am writing here Br and I am writing here iodine. Now in this example you can observe there are similar ligands. These are the two chlorine, one bromine and one iodine. Now question for all students, which type of the complex give an example, homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex? This is the heteroleptic complex. Why? Because all ligands, are there is, if there is one ligand which is different than another, that is also classified into the heteroleptic complex. In this example there are three type of the ligands which are given there. How many type of the ligands? One, this is the chlorine, means one type. Two, this is the second type, and this is the third type. That means three different type of the ligands which are present there. There are two similar chlorine and bromine which is different, and iodine which is also different. So this is the example of the heteroleptic complex, because in this complex all ligands, these are the different. Next one point of this chapter, that is the classification of the complex, which is based on the charge of the complex. First one classification already we have seen in last few minutes, that is the, so in the classification we are seeing there are two type of the classification. Is the first one classification which is based on the type of the ligands. So this is the first one classification, homoleptic complex and heteroleptic complex. Next one classification which is based on the type of the or charge on the complex. This is the second one classification. पहिला कुठला पाहिला आपण इथे, बेस्ड ऑन द टाइप ऑफ द लिगँड, कुठल्या टाईपची लिगँड आहेत त्याच्यावरती बेस्ड आहे. आणि दिस इज द क्लासिफिकेशन विच इज बेस्ड ऑन द चार्ज ऑन द कॉम्प्लेक्स. कॉम्प्लेक्सवरती काय चार्ज आहे त्याच्यावरती हे काय इथे क्लासिफिकेशन आहे. ओके, so in this classification, this is the first one, that is the cationic complex. Second, that is the anionic complex, and third one, that is the neutral complex. This is the classification of the complex which is based on the charge on the complex. Cationic complex, anionic complex or anionic sphere complex, and next one, that is the neutral sphere complex. Cationic complex, which is also known as the cationic sphere complex, also anionic sphere complex, and this is a neutral sphere complex. I think तुमच्या लक्षात आलं असेल की एक्झॅक्टली काय असणार आहे याच्यामध्ये. Cationic complex, in cationic complex there is a positive, negative or neutral charge present in the complex. On the sphere of the complex, sphere वरती कुठला चार्ज असणार आहे cationic मध्ये, that is a plus charge. Is a one of the example which is given there. If complex which is having positive charge on uh, the sphere, which is known as the cationic complex, which is having positive charge. This is also example in which if we isolate this structure, then there is a positive charge which occurs on the square bracket of this complex. That means this is also example of the cationic complex. What is a cationic complex? Complex which is having positive charge on the coordination sphere, which is called as the cationic sphere complex. एक्झामला विचारलं जाऊ शकतं, एक्सप्लेन क्लासिफिकेशन बेस्ड ऑन द चार्ज ऑन द कॉम्प्लेक्स. अशा वेळेस तुम्हाला हे रायटिंग करता आलं पाहिजे. और डिफाइन cationic complex. How you define cationic complex or define cationic complex and give example. So in this case, in definition of the cationic complex, simple definition you can write in your word or in simplest form: complex which is having positive charge on the coordination sphere, these complexes are known as the cationic complexes or cationic sphere complexes. And write down these examples. Also you can also use another example related to the cationic complex. Next one, anionic sphere complex. Now what is the anionic sphere complex? Obviously तुमच्या लक्षात आलं असेल इथं की काय असणार आहे याच्यामध्ये. आता पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज असेल की निगेटिव्ह चार्ज असेल की कुठला चार्ज नसणार आहे. व्हॉट इज द anionic complex? Yes, anionic complex means, what is the definition for the anionic complex? A complex which is having negative charge on the coordination sphere. Yes, right. Negative charge on the coordination sphere, which is known as the anionic sphere complex. जर कॉम्प्लेक्स वरती मायनस चार्ज असेल, निगेटिव्ह चार्ज असेल, तर आपण त्याला काय म्हणतो? anionic sphere complex. There are two examples which are the given there. That is the nickel, which is surrounded by the 4 cyanide and which is having काय charge आहे याच्यावरती? That is a -2, right? And this is also another example in which in this complex which is having negative charge on this स्क्वेअर ब्रॅकेट कॉम्प्लेक्स. याच्या स्क्वेअर ब्रॅकेट तुम्ही म्हणता सर याच्यावरती तर चार्ज दिसत नाही आणि तुम्ही तर म्हणताय की हे सेकंड एक्झाम्पल तर काय ॲनायनिक कॉम्प्लेक्स आहे. आता इथे मला सांगा, जर आपण हे डिझॉल्व केलं, एखाद्या वॉटरमध्ये डिझॉल्व केलं तर काय होईल? पोटॅशियम प्लस चार्ज येईल. पोटॅशियमवरती ऑलवेज काय असतं? पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज. आणि मग त्याच्यामुळे बाय डिफॉल्टच चार्ज कशा येणार याच्यावरती स्क्वेअरवरती? मायनस. जर पोटॅशियमवरती पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज आला तर स्क्वेअर ब्रॅकेटवरती कुठला चार्ज येत असतो? मायनस चार्ज. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो एक्झाम्पल ऑफ द anionic sphere complex. These are also this is there is a explanation which is given there, that is the FeCN6 minus which is given there -3 and potassium which is having plus charge which is given there. Next one, important classification which is given there. Classification which is based on the, again here, charge on the complex, that is the neutral sphere complex. Now what is about the charge? कॉम्प्लेक्स वरती चार्ज कुठला असणार आहे? आता आधीच्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये पाहिलं कॅटॅनिक कॉम्प्लेक्स मध्ये याच्यावरती पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज होता. ॲनायनिक कॉम्प्लेक्स वरती कुठला होता? मायनस चार्ज होता. बट याच्यामध्ये कुठला चार्ज असणार आहे आता मग? येस, विच चार्ज प्रेझेंट इन द न्यूट्रल स्पेअर कॉम्प्लेक्स और हाऊ वी डिफाईन न्यूट्रल स्पेअर कॉम्प्लेक्स. डिफाईन करायला सांगितलं तर काय करावं लागेल? किंवा याच्यावरती चार्ज कुठला असणार आहे? येस, रिप्लाय इन चॅट बॉक्स. Yes, there is no charge present in the neutral sphere complex. Neutral means no charge. Neutral means no charge present in the neutral sphere complex. Now how you define neutral sphere complex? The complex which is having or which does not possess cationic or anionic spheres. किंवा दुसऱ्या लँग्वेज मध्ये जर बोलायला गेलं, the complex which is having no positive charge, no negative charge, these complexes are known as the neutral sphere complex. These are known as the neutral sphere complexes. These are the two examples which are given there inside of the square bracket. PT means platinum, which is surrounded by the 2 ammonia 2 chlorine square bracket complete. This is the neutral sphere complex because outside of this square bracket there is no positive charge, there is no negative charge. So this is the example of the neutral sphere complex. And second one, Inside of the square bracket, Ni means nickel, which is surrounded by the CO3 carbonyl ligand, which is given there. In this example, there is no charge which is observed outside of the square bracket, which is known as the neutral sphere complex. I hope all students better understand this concept. That is the classification on the basis of the charge on the complex. There is a one classification which was in there: cationic complex, anionic sphere complex, and neutral complex. Cationic sphere complex, positive charge on the complex, uh, and in case of the anionic complex, anionic sphere complex, there is a negative charge on the complex, and neutral sphere complex, which is having no charge on the complex. Okay, so this is about the classification based on the charge on the complex. So classification of the complex whereas in there, first one classification based on the type of the ligands: homoleptic complex, heteroleptic complex. Homoleptic means all ligands, these are the similar type of the ligand. Heteroleptic complex means complex which is the having uh, which is having different type of the ligands which are the present in the complex. Next one classification based on the charge on the complex: cationic complex, positive charge anionic complex, negative charge neutral sphere complex, which is having no charge. So let's we take here a few examples for the given classification. All students must be identify which type of the complex present there. Okay, आता तुमच्या याच्यावरून लक्षात आलं असेल की काय एक्झॅक्टली मी तुम्हाला एक एक दोन एक्झाम्पल देणार, एक एक्झाम्पल देणार, आणि त्याच्यावरून तुम्ही सांगायचं, रिप्लाय करायचं आहे व्हॉट इज अबाउट द विच टाइप ऑफ द कॉम्प्लेक्स विच इज प्रेझेंट देअर. ओके, लेट्स वी टेक हिअर. This is the complex which is given there, and in this complex identify given complex which is a cationic complex, anionic complex, or neutral complex. Yes, all students which reply here correct answer. This is the example of the cationic complex. In this example I am writing here new example. Titanium, I am writing here Ti means titanium, which is surrounded by the chlorine. Again here there is one ammonia. Okay, there are different ligands which are using their OH. Okay, and CN. Now on this complex there is the -3 charge. Now all students identify given example: cationic complex pair, cationic sphere complex, anionic sphere complex, or neutral sphere complex. Identify all students. Sphere complex, this is the example of the anionic sphere complex which is the given there. Now next example I am writing here. Okay, I am writing here next one example. In this example, Mn is a central metal, and which is having water, NH3, ENH3, and square bracket complete. Now all students identify given example which is a cationic sphere complex, anionic sphere complex, or neutral sphere complex. Yes, which type of the complex? Yes, this is the neutral sphere complex. This is the neutral sphere complex which is given there, because there is no positive charge, there is no negative charge which is present outside of the square bracket, so which is known as the uh, neutral sphere complex. This is known as the neutral sphere complex. We are seeing there how many examples? There are three examples we are seeing there. In this example, first one example already I am taken there. that is the this is the cationic sphere complex. Next one example where in there, that is the anionic sphere complex. This is the anionic sphere complex. And last one example where in there, that is the neutral sphere complex. This is the classification we are seeing there with the example. Now next example. Now question for all student is that given complex which is a homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex, which type of the complex which is given there? Is this example of the homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex? Yes, yes, right. Homoleptic complex. This is the homoleptic complex. Why homoleptic complex? Because in this example, there are number of the ligands which are attached to the central metal that is a nickel, and inside of this square bracket, this is a this is the coordination sphere. Inside of the square bracket, inside of the coordination sphere, only one type of the ligand which is present there. एकाच टाईपचा लिगँड आहे. These are the chlorine. So this is an example of the homoleptic complex. But in this example, if I am replace this chlorine, any one chlorine from the another ligand, if I am writing here another ligand, that is a iodine. Now in this example, what type of the complex which is given there? Homoleptic complex or heteroleptic complex, and why? Given example, yes, right. This is the heteroleptic complex because there are two type of the ligands, because which is a having two type of the ligands which are the given there. In the two type of the ligands, there are 5 chlorine and 1 iodine which is a given there. So this is the example of the heteroleptic complex. This is example of the heteroleptic complex. So which example we are seeing there? Okay, first one example, sorry, first one example we are seeing there, that is okay, in this example we are seeing there, that is there is a one chlorine which is present there. So if similar type of the ligand, then that is a homoleptic. If different type of the ligand which is present there, then that is a heteroleptic complex. And also we are seeing there examples regarding to the cationic complex. This is the cationic complex example. Next one, that is a anionic sphere complex. And last one example which was in there, that is the neutral sphere complex.